Hello and welcome to Pre-Tutorial 1 Examiner's Report. Now, in this video, I'm going to go through Pre-Tutorial 1 where most students make a lot of mistakes, okay? And but more importantly, I'm going to teach you how to improve your writing, not just for Pre-Tutorial, but also to help you do well for the group project. And well, some of these tips you can also apply to your other modules. Isn't that great? Okay, so let's begin, alright? Now, let me start by saying, I know some students are saying, why so much effort for so little marks? Okay, so I need to explain. There's this concept in education, in pedagogy, okay? There's a difference between summative assessments and formative assessments. Now, summative assessments is what you're used to lah. You have regular tests and exams, right? Is to test how well you have mastered the content, how well you mastered the skills, right? So mid-year, end-year, mid-sem, end-sem exams, right? Yeah, those are summative assessments. What people say, these are the kinds of assessments that's designed to slaughter you, right? To see how good you are and put you on a grade, right? So those kinds, okay, those kinds of assessments, those kinds tend to have heavier weightages, yeah? Now, what I'm trying to do here with pre-tutorial and even the quizzes, right, is what we call formative assessments. Now, formative assessment is not about slaughtering anybody, okay? Formative assessment is, the idea is, the more you do, the more you learn, the more marks you get, okay? That is the idea, yeah? So, now, that's why it's calibrated just enough marks to motivate you to do the work. Now, there are other things also, like over the years of teaching, I've come to discover that there's a certain sweet spot, you in the first place, you cannot please everybody, right? If you put too little marks, people complain, not worthwhile. Then you put too high, people complain, so stressful. Wow, why is module so stressful? Why are the assignments so stressful? So this is after a lot of careful calibration. So this is kind of the sweet spot. It doesn't annoy people on both sides. That's really the idea lah. But really, where I'm coming from is quizzes and pre-tutorial, they're all formative assessments. Why? Because you haven't come for tutorial. How can I expect you to give the best of yourself? So it's not fair to assess you, to use a summative assessment to assess you for that, yeah? So formative assessment, just do, explore, try your best, and then we just give you the marks. That is the idea, okay? Now, then of course this module, we do have summative assessment. What is the summative assessment? The group project. Oh, anxiety, right? Just released. But don't worry about it, okay? Just to encourage, motivate you, help you to feel confident because you're putting your best self forward, right? There's the midway submission and the final submission. So midway submission is for me to check everybody's work. Last time there was no midway submission. Then a lot of groups will say, can you check my work? Yeah. So the whole point of the midway is so I can check everybody. Then that way is fair, ma. Some people don't dare to ask, that they don't dare to ask to check. Then not fair for them for not asking, right? So this is my way of checking. Then final submission is where the grading is very, very stringent because, well, it is a summative assessment. It is to assess how well you and everyone else in the cohort have mastered your learning. That is the idea. Okay, anyway, now, so pre-tutorial is upon 10 marks, okay? I have started this tradition of not giving people full marks because you can blame one guy lah. There was one student some semesters ago, I give full marks and then he says, Mr. Sim gave me full marks, therefore I know everything he wants, and then everything went downhill in the group project lah. So as a symbolic gesture that we can always strive to do better, that there are always things that we don't know. There's nobody gets 10 upon 10. Anyway, the question then is, okay, if you have 9 marks or more, okay, what does it mean? Does it mean that you know everything that I want? No. It means if you get 9 marks or more, all it means is that you have satisfied the requirements that we are looking for. You have demonstrated competency in the technical skills, and in your writing it is very clear, and no assumptions or whatever assertions or whatever problems. That is what the 9 marks or more means. Now you notice when it comes to numbers, we're so terrible at interpreting it, right? So that's why it's very important for me to explain this to you. So now, what if you got less than 9 marks? I know some of you are saying, I didn't get 9 marks, I'm going to do very badly for this module. Now, don't forget, the weightage is very small. You have 4 pre-tutorials, okay? And then it's a point 15%. So that means even if you score 5 marks, versus the fellow who got 9 marks or more, okay, the difference is going to be about only 1% of your total grade. Very, very minuscule. So you got, most of you got about 7.58 lah. So that's about 0.5% difference, okay? So don't be salty, okay? This is formative assessment. We give you the marks. This is just our way of telling you, the point 10 is just like a meter of telling you how good your writing and technical abilities are, right? That's all, okay? It does not mean, it has nothing to, remember, this is just a direct measure of it's a proxy measure of your ability that you have demonstrated in writing. In no way does it refer to your self-worth or anything like that. If you interpret like that, then you're interpreting the measure a bit too far lah, right? Okay, now, where are students losing marks? Why are they not getting 9 marks or more? Okay, now 2 reasons. Okay, the first is 2 reasons and basically 2 solutions that I hope you can imbue into yourself. Okay, now the first biggest problem that affects the majority of students is when you write, you need to remember that you are writing for a reader, okay, who has no idea what is going on in your head. Okay, so in many ways, good writing requires you to be empathetic. Okay, so this is a problem because we read a lot of assignments. A lot of students, okay, make the assumption that the reader has access to your mind. I cannot read your mind, you know. You need to make everything clear. Now the problem is this, it is not obvious what is not clear to the reader, right? Because after all, you had all the thinking in your head, then you transfer on paper. Even if there are gaps, when you read it, your mind has everything, so your mind is filling in the gaps. But for me, the reader, right, or anyone else, right, we don't have your thought process, we don't have your life experience. So when we read, we actually perceive the gaps. Okay, so it's very important to actually read things and then ask yourself, you know, is this really meh? Does everybody really believe this? You know, it helps to ask questions like this. I give you an example of a very common assertion that's made in many assignments. Now there's a difference. Okay, now there are some students who say, businesses are driven by profit. Okay, now this one is very reasonable. This one everybody can accept, right? But then you have other students who make an even stronger claim. They say all businesses are driven to maximize profits. Whoa, right? Think about it for a minute, right? Okay, all businesses driven by profit, yes. Okay, to maximize profits, not just to maximize profits. All businesses. That's a bit too strong, right? How do you know this? I'm the reader, I read this in your assignment, I go, whoa, how do you come to this conclusion? You see that's the issue, right? So if you strongly believe in this, then it's very important that you actually state it. How do you arrive at this conclusion? Now, and another reason, another common problem that affected a lot of students, okay, is that when they insert the screenshot, there's no explanation, okay? Or at least the caption doesn't really say enough lah, okay? Now, this is very dangerous, okay? Because you see, there's data, if you remember tutorial 1, there's data, there's interpretation, right? Data and interpretation. When you screenshot your table or your graph, you are giving me a screenshot of your data. The interpretation is in your head. I don't know your interpretation until you put it down on paper. That is the issue, right? Now, of course, the hope is I have the same interpretation as you do lah, right? If we have it, if we have the same interpretation, then maybe you get the marks lah. But we are very careful. We don't want to interpret things for you. So if we read, we don't see an interpretation, boom, okay, too bad, right? So you do need to make your interpretation clear, okay? Now, to facilitate the reader, it's very important, right? You need to make clear all your assumptions, all your interpretations, all your points, your positions. Anything that's vague, anything that's ambiguous, make it clear, okay? Because we cannot read your minds, and it's very important to bear that in mind. Because you see, we can be very reasonable and we can just grant you things, okay? But the issue is, if there's ambiguity, then we're not sure which one should we be, which position should we take. And then it makes it very hard to grade because there's so many ambiguity. We don't know what you're referring to exactly. It's very hard to give the marks lah. Okay, so that is the issue. Okay, now I want to highlight there's one mistake or one tactic that students use that's actually a very incorrect strategy. Okay, what is that? You see, there are some students who they don't use the pivot table. They play with the filter. They filter. Then they say, you see, got this 1 or 2 people. Oh, the sales is very good, but then something else is very bad. Therefore, there is no correlation. Okay, what's the problem here? If you remember your secondary school science, okay, that is absolutely not how correlation works. Okay, people who say this, what's the assumption? Correlation means everything fits the line perfectly. So that is a problem because that exists only in the ideal world. Real world, if you remember your physics, the pendulum experiment or whatever funny experiments that you did, right? You plot the data points, then what happened? Then you do a best fit line, correct? So if despite your best fit line, you have 1 or 2 points that are very out of the line, right? What do we call that? Anomaly. Anomaly. Just for your never mind. Okay. Anomaly is from the Greek that means not even, uneven Okay. Anyway, so that's the thing just because you highlight 1 or 2 cases does not mean there's no correlation. You know, there could still be a correlation. So those people who did that bad methodology. You forgot your secondary school stuff. So yeah, okay, yeah. Anyway, now whether so that's the thing. If you really want to talk about correlation, you cannot play with filters. You have to look at your pivot table, look at your pivot chart. Okay, yeah. 1 or 2 anomaly does not mean there's no correlation. That is very important. Now, let me talk about something that many students do that's pretty good, and I want to teach you how to go further, right? So you talk about the director, right? Then you question the assumption. Good. Now I teach you a good strategy. I learned this in when I was an undergrad. One of my seniors taught me, and I was like, oh, this is good, right? What is it? You say that the assumption is bad, right? Okay, let me show you this assumption is flawed for this reason, blah 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 blah, A B C D E F G. Okay, good, convincing, right? How do you go further? Put the nail in the coffin, right? How do you do that? Okay, so there's this static, it's called even if. So even if this assumption is true. So let's give the director the benefit of the doubt and let's pretend that it's true. What are the consequences? What are the implications? You see what I'm doing? So this is a very good two-pronged strategy because we're saying on one hand it is wrong, but even if we pretend that it is right, still problematic. You really hammer the nail into the coffin. Very, very good. So bear this in mind. That is one strategy you can use. Okay, not just for GET, but for other modules. I found it very effective. It's a very good rhetoric method, right? Bear that in mind. Okay, so I don't want to give examples because I know future semester students might watch this video and then they copy the example. So, but basically, you say this assumption is bad, but even if it's true, still a problem. Okay. Yes. Okay, now let's see. Okay, what I want to do is I want to go through 2 students' assignments. Okay, as you watch me talk about their assignments, okay, you will then be able to see concrete instantiations, because now I'm just telling you the problems in abstract, and in past semester students say, I don't see how your comments are relevant to me. Okay, so fine. Now I show you, then you try to see how it's relevant. Okay, now the reason why I'm doing this video is because there's 400 of you. It's not possible to write very detailed comments for everybody. Yeah, so the best we can do is one or two lines so that we can push it out in 2 weeks time. Yeah. But the good news is this: at least majority of you got the same problem. that makes my life easier because I can just do a video like this. Okay, so alright, okay, so let me go through the 2 students. They are more or less arguing the same thing, okay? But as you can see, the main point I want to show you is, okay, 3 main points. First, it's not about what you say, it's about how you say it, okay? And this is true for all essay writing. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Very, very important. Number 2, always put yourself in the shoes of the reader. If you don't, I'm going to demonstrate to you what's going to happen. Okay. Number 3, you need to have strategy when you're arguing, when you're putting your justification. Without strategy, cannot. Because when we grade essays, we don't grade based on one good thing that you put, we grade based on the overall thing. Okay, so come, are we ready? Oh, by the way, the 2 students, I didn't ask you in advance, but please take it in your stride as feedback on how to improve. Okay, in no way am I saying your essays are bad or whatever. Okay, I'm just saying these are the things that you can do to improve your writing. Okay, clear? Good. Okay, let's begin. Okay, there we go. Oh, okay, come. Now you can see my face big, right? Okay, so we start with this student. The student says, I am inclined to believe that, very satisfied. ought to consider customer satisfaction levels. Okay, it is the best imperfect measure. Problem. You tell me this person is the best, this director is the best measure, the customer satisfaction levels is the best measure. But there's no justification. Why should I believe you? You make a claim like this, why should I as the reader believe you? What if I believe, imagine this, you believe customer satisfaction is the right answer, right? I believe that, let's say, gaining new customers is the right answer. Then how? When I read this, I'm not convinced, right? You are telling me what I don't agree with, right? So you do need to elaborate, you do need to expand and convince me. Don't just tell me your answer. You need to convince the reader. That is the key thing in essay writing. Always write to convince the reader. If you cannot convince the reader, you lose the game. That is the key. Okay? Now, okay, let's look at the argumentative strategy. I do not agree that the other methods are suitable. Okay, so far so good, right? Now, let's just focus on this. For I love money, that is total sales generated, does not consider quality of service to the customers. Okay, fair enough, but okay, now, what is going on? The student is basically saying customer satisfaction is the best answer, right? Now, what is wrong with the other three directors? One by one, can you see? This one only look at total sales. Total sales does not focus on customer satisfaction level. This strategy is problematic. Why? Because first of all, you never prove to me that customer satisfaction level is important. You never prove to me why this is the best imperfect measure, right? And then now you are using it to measure other things. Problematic, right? So already when I read the first paragraph, I have the question mark. Then now the question mark carry forward, and then I'm seeing that the question mark is being compared to other things. Yeah. Now, as a reader, I'm looking at this. The person is talking about total sales, and you're comparing with customer service. It feels a bit unfair, right? If you want to tell me that total sales is problematic, then you should tell me in turn why the logic of total sales is problematic on its own. You can't just like oh look, let me compare with this other thing. See, problematic. It's very unfair, right? Yeah. So okay, later elaborate a little bit more why it's unfair. Right? But you see, then this thing also is the same issue, right? Based on the new number of customers gain, right? But then again compare with customer satisfaction. Well, you can see where it's going, right? And then we have a very interesting. On the other hand, using customer satisfaction levels ensures that existing and new customers are happy, and therefore this is good lah. Now, what is the problem? You see, this is known as using a ruler to measure itself. Yeah. So what is the student doing? Essentially, let's imagine that customer satisfaction is the ruler. Oh. Yeah. I got prop. Measuring tape. I bought measuring tape so I can do my sewing and art and craft project. So okay. Now imagine this is customer satisfaction level. Okay. What is the student doing? I explained to you the strategy. The student is saying, you see, this is customer satisfaction level. Let me measure the air. Aiyo, I cannot measure the air. Therefore, using air as a measure is bad. Okay, let me measure water. Let's say this is coffee lah. But let me try to measure. I cannot measure properly. It's not a good way to. I cannot measure my coffee without staining this thing. Therefore, it is a bad measure. Oh. Let me measure this measuring tape. Wow, see, I can measure. Wow, good lord. Now you can see where the problem is. It is what we call circular reasoning. Circular reasoning. Go round and round in circles. Okay, now. but that's a problem, right? You, in the first place, what's wrong with the strategy? The strategy, in the first place, it is not proven. The student didn't prove to me why customer satisfaction is the best, right? And then the student is using it as the benchmark to compare with other things without telling me why these things are problematic on their own. Okay, yeah. So it's think of it this way lah. Another example is like saying, McDonald's is terrible. Why is it terrible? Because it doesn't sell me furniture. Of course you're gonna look at me and like, what? That is the problem. This is the strategy. Now, so whenever you're writing your justification, you do need to take a step back and ask yourself, is this a good strategy? Okay, you cannot just anyhow and hope that one thing actually works. Because you do this, it shows the reader that hey, this person doesn't know what he or she is doing. Yeah, so it's very important. Now, okay, let's move on. Each of the suggested measures have their own flaws and operate on their own set of assumptions. Sure. if you acknowledge that they operate on their own set of assumptions, then it is even more unfair to compare with another set of assumptions. You should question the assumptions internally within itself. Yeah. Now, actually, this is a bit of a repetition. So okay, now my close one eye. This one's still okay. I do have an issue with not an issue lah, but you see, let's look at the last sentence. However, it is the least constricted measure in evaluating an intern's performance. Least constricted. You see my reaction as a reader? What? Nowhere here does not say anything about constriction. So how is this the least constricted? Also, no, nothing in this thing about the customer satisfaction shows that it is least constricted. You see what's going on? The student has the idea in the head, but it is not clearly communicated. So as the reader, right, I cannot read your mind. I can only read what you have expressed, right? So seeing this, what's the problem? I don't know how you arrive at this conclusion. So a lot of students, if you get more elaboration required this needs more detail or whatever, it's because of statements like this. Statements like this that you assume that the reader knows what you're saying. But as you can see, I'm reading this, I have no idea what's being said. So this is very important, okay? Now, then the student ends with this graph, which shows us customer satisfaction ratings against CAP. Okay, now, I'll be very honest, as a reader, I feel very confused. Why? Because the assignment didn't talk about the CAP 4.99, right? 4.99 was in the interactive story game. Okay, now it goes to show that they vary in people skills and blah blah blah. The data cannot tell us the measure that blah blah blah. Okay, now why is this problematic? You see, okay, this is a good point for me to raise up. In quite a few students did this thing where they say, oh look, there's between this thing and this thing, there is no correlation, right? Now, why is this a problematic strategy? Because you see, there are 1,000, a million, infinite number of things in this world that have no correlation. Okay, for example, the number of students in UTown and my IQ, no correlation. Like you look at me, you think, what the hell is this guy talking about, right? But that's precisely the thing. You cannot just go around saying, look at this A, look at this B, no correlation. What would the reader say? So what, right? Yeah. So the only reason why it made sense in interactive story game is because we're trying to prove to the Mr. 4.99, the guy who says CAP is very important. We're trying to prove to him that his statement has that his choice of measure is nonsensical, right? So in that context, it makes sense. But if you just blindly outside of the story, just writing like that, and then you just suddenly highlight no correlation, the reader will go, okay, sure, there's a lot of things in this world that have no correlation. So why, this is the key thing, why is this significant? So the student did not explain the significance of why there is no correlation. But the student did, what did the student do instead? The student just say, no correlation, therefore blah 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 blah. So this is problematic, yeah? You want to say no correlation, can, but you need to explain why it was significant in the first place. Why did you think that CAP and customer satisfaction rating might be something worth exploring, and why the no correlation is significant? You cannot just pretend, you cannot not talk about all these things and then just say, look, no correlation, therefore blah 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 blah, I am correct. This is the problem. Okay, now let me compare this writing with another what's the thing? With another student's work. Okay, this student's work wrote the same thing. Not the same thing. The argues for the same thing, but in a very different strategy. Okay, so let's have a look. I love money's suggestion of using total sales generated would not be a good indicator for employees to base their performance on. Okay. For one thing, having a fixation on total sales numbers might cause the employees to prioritize it over offering proper customer service, which means that even in the short term, they are able to get a lot of customers. Eventually, over time, as the customers get increasingly dissatisfied with the service, they will opt for other companies. Now, in some ways, you see, there's a certain subtlety, right? We compare what this student says with the one in red with the one in blue. They are saying very similar things, correct? But there is a difference. The one in red is both of them are basically saying you can't use total sales generated. Customer service is important, right? But what is the one in red doing? The one in red is just simply comparing with customer service and saying don't have, therefore bad. This guy, on the other hand, is saying Look at the implications of using total sales. If we use total sales, other things will be neglected, and therefore this is bad. You see, there's a difference in the strategy. This difference in the strategy makes a big difference in how the reader is able to accept this. When you present it in this way, it is more reasonable. More reasonable in the sense I can see where you're coming from. This one, I cannot see where the student is coming from. Like, you just tell me, oh, don't have the customer service, but how can? In the first place, I'm just asking in my head, why are you prioritizing customer service? This one, the student never say I choose customer service, but it's just say this will lead to deterioration in customer service, and then the company will suffer. You see? Now, how reasonable is this? Okay lah, pre-tutorial we grant lah, right? Of course, there are other issues. If you want to be very stringent, there are other issues to concern yourself with, right? Like how true is the statement? Like how probable or improbable is the statement? Yeah, things like that might affect the strength or the weakness of the argument. Now, what does the student do later? Okay, their dissatisfaction, okay, leading to a fall. Okay, their dissatisfaction might also cause them not to recommend the company itself, leading to a fall in the revenue in the future, using total sales, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now the student is doing something interesting. I am assuming the company's products, I am assuming are chairs. Okay, when I read this, I was like, huh? Chairs? Then I checked the dataset. Dataset never say chairs, and then I was like, oh yeah, interactive story game. I talk about how nice the chairs are, right? Now, how reasonable, how sound is this assumption? Okay lah, give lah, right? Because the story did allude to making chairs, right? But maybe it does more than chairs. Now, but you see this thing, chairs might be seasonal in nature. Okay, again, this is a case of not writing for the reader. I'm the reader. I read this. Chairs might be seasonal in nature. What kind of chair is season? Got seasonal chair shopping one, man? Right? Okay, with more people buying chairs either near Christmas or near the end of the year. What? Huh? I don't know. I'm the kind of guy that goes to IKEA once a month or once every few weeks just for the fun of it. So that, you see, right? We have different experiences. So this is the problem when you're writing for the when you forget to put yourself in the shoes of the reader. The student is bringing his experience. His experience is that maybe he or his family, they buy chairs seasonally every Christmas. Okay, people like me, happy will just go to IKEA and buy furniture. No need a season. Every day is a shopping season, right? But you see, a difference in the assumptions, a difference in our experiences can affect the way we read, right? So you want to be more convincing, you cannot assume that the reader shares the same viewpoint as you. You need to elaborate. At least elaborate a bit more lah. Like I may not agree with your elaboration, but things like this, I can see where you're coming from, and I can see, okay lah, reasonable, I'll grant you this, right? You see, so there's a difference in that lah, right? Yeah. So as you can see, it is not as some people say, oh, essay writing is very subjective. No, it's not subjective. As you can see, it becomes a bit more. It is very objective because we are looking out, because it's dependent on how well you flesh out certain points. If you don't flesh it out very much, then it becomes subjective lah. It's my interpretation, my experience versus your experience, your interpretation, right? So when you flesh things out, it becomes clearer to the reader. Then it becomes more objective, yeah. So bear that in mind lah, yeah. So if you don't flesh all these things out, does it then become a subjective grading? No, it just means you never disambiguate all these things that are unclear. So we cannot give you higher marks. That is all lah. Okay. Now. Okay. So again, same thing. The strategy that the student is employing here is saying, look, okay, even if this is right, problem as the implication of this. Not bad, right? Not bad, right? So okay. Now, but look at this. Having such a measure of performance might cause employees to become cutthroat and competitive, stealing customers away from each other in the hopes of increasing their own number of new customers. Wow! How probable is this? Okay. Now, the strength of the argument will depend on how true this statement is, right? If this is not true, you realize what's the issue here? This is very culturally culture dependent, right? So some cultures may be very toxic, some cultures may be a bit more gracious, right? So people read this and they go, really, man, how do we fix this? Either you have data to support that this kind of behavior really exists, okay, or you change the strategy to something that is more believable, more reasonable. This one I can see how it might be true, but at the back of my head it's like really question mark. Really we don't know for sure, you know. So every time people read and they go, not sure, may not be like this in reality, then you know your justification is not as strong as you want it to be. Okay. Another more practical reason, customer satisfaction level. I see in the chart below, number of customer satisfaction levels in the Excel sheet far outnumber the number of interns within the company itself. Oh, ha ha ha. Okay, that was an ominous laughter, right? Now, look at this pivot table. What is it showing me? The X12034, that is the intern serial number. Next time put the name lah. Wow, I out all the names for you for your entertainment. Have you read all the names out? Anyway, now you have these are individual interns, right? This is not the number of satisfaction levels, you know. This is the number of customers, because every customer gave a rating. Every customer gave a rating. So that means what's going on? The student has demonstrated that he actually misread the pivot table. Oh no, yeah. So this argument is actually incorrect, because it's not that the number of customer satisfaction levels are far outnumber the number of interns. Customer satisfaction rating, if you actually check the data set, is what, between 1 to 5, right? How can this be 76? 76 is too many, is too far beyond 1 to 5, right? So this is actually the number of customers. How many customers gave a satisfaction rating? Yeah. So okay, unfortunately, sorry, I have to reject this paragraph, because you misinterpreted the graph. So don't stress. But cannot make this mistake in your group project. Group project, now let me just make a few comments about group project. Group project, you want to do well, right? Please go and check the data set. Look at what's in the columns. I don't want you to eyeball, but I at least have a good sense of the kind of data that's being displayed. Just now, you see, when the student does that, right? Why will students misinterpret pivot tables? You know, why a lot of students say, I don't know what's going on in the pivot table, I don't know how to read. That's because you never go and read the data set. You don't know what's going on in the data. Look at the spreadsheets. Look at what's in every row, what's in every column. Appreciate the data. Not because I go and generate the data, I spend one day to generate the data, but because you need to know what is going on. It's kind of like trying to understand what's on the ground before you have the macro thing, right? I don't expect you to see line by line, row by row, but at least have a sense. Just do a quick scroll, one row, like that, the data kind of looks like that. That is very useful. Once you have this understanding in your head, then when you make the pivot table, it'll be a lot easier for you lah. Okay? Okay, now, so that is all for me today. Let me end as usual. I think it'd be fun to end with a bit of some music, right? The joy of music, because I play violin for my students in class, but I don't get to play for the rest of you, right? Because I only teach 3 classes. So okay, let me play the violin for you. Shall we do that? Enjoy the music.